pioneering music executive Clive Davis has died at the age of 94. His family confirming this passing to NBC News, saying that he died at his home in New York City, surrounded by loved ones.
He walked into Clive's office. Puffy was in there playing his music and stuff. Tion's cousin walks over, stops the tape, gives it to Puffy and says, TLC's got a meeting with Clive and you got to go. Your meeting's over. And tough Puffy is like, he didn't put up a fuss or nothing, but he was confused, of course. So he goes out, and we have one of the girls acting as security outside of that door, and we said, don't let anybody in or out unless we say so. Clive is like, girls, what's going on? And so we're like, we need to talk to you. And then I get all emotional because I'm mad, I'm crying, and so this is like for real. And we said, you know, it's not fair. We're selling all these records and we don't have anything to show for it. Like, this is not right. Because we thought, we got rid of Pebbles, so we straight. No. Anyway, long story short, the police comes in the office. It was like a serious movie at that moment. The three of us just looked at Clive like, if you have us arrested, we are gonna F you up for real.
Today, the mainstream media is universally mourning Clive Davis, calling him the ultimate star maker who gave us the soundtrack to our lives. But if you strip away the glitz, the Grammy galas, and the multi-platinum plaques, you find a completely different story. Clive Davis wasn't just a music guy. He was a Harvard-trained lawyer who knew exactly how to weaponize contracts. He calibrated a corporate machine that systematically extracted wealth from independent Black creators, consolidated power for major labels, and left a trail of devastating collateral damage. Let's talk about the shadow legacy they aren't. Putting in the official obituaries to understand how the game is really played. You gotta go back to the early 70s, before the major corporations owned every single frequency on your radio. Independent, Black-owned powerhouses like Stax Records in Memphis were the true cultural and economic hubs. They owned their masters, their distribution, and their community footprint. Then came the ultimate corporate finesse. Stax signed a major distribution deal with Columbia Records under Clive Davis's presidency. Columbia advanced them millions and took control of shipping their vinyl to stores. But right after Clive got pushed out in a corporate shakeup, the machine he helped build tightened the noose. Columbia systematically choked off Stax's distribution. They stopped shipping records to stores and froze Stax's cash flow because Stax was legally locked into an exclusive contract. They couldn't go anywhere else. Stax was forced into bankruptcy, and the major labels swept in during the fire sale to buy up their priceless master tapes for pennies on the dollar.
Did y'all know Stax was the biggest independent label in American history? And Michael Jackson was gangster. See, he knew back then. So look, Isaac Hayes, he was the first black man to ever go platinum. First black man to ever go double platinum. And he did it within months, they say. Within 1 month. See, they didn't want nobody to know that Memphis was doing that. He was out doing the labels, the major labels in Memphis. We've been the independent game, bro.
Became the definitive blueprint for dismantling independent Black wealth. Fast forward to the 90s, and Clive flipped the playbook with the 50-50 joint venture model, backing labels like LaFace and Bad Boy. On paper, it looked like he was empowering Black L.A. Reid and Sean Combs. In reality, it was the perfect corporate shock absorber, street-level hip-hop and R&B in in the 90s came with heavy regional politics, real beef, and major liability. By structuring these as joint ventures, Clive provided the bag, but made the sub-labels take 100% of the frontline risk and cultural heat. If things went left, Arista claimed distance. When the records went multi-platinum, the corporate mothership extracted the lion's share of the bread. Maximum cultural equity, zero corporate liability. Now we gotta talk about Clive's biggest star and his deepest tragedy, Whitney Houston. For years, the internet and industry insiders have pushed heavy theories about her passing. People in the independent media space always talk about the dark side of the business. They bring up things like corporate death clauses. That is the theory that a record label makes way more money when a legendary artist dies compared to when they are alive. All because of the instant massive spike in streams and album sales. Then you look at the cold reality of that night. Whitney passed away in her room at the Beverly Hilton. It happened just hours before Clive's massive pre-party in that exact same building. They decided to keep the party rolling. The music was blasting downstairs while the police were upstairs handling the scene. That single move fueled decades of talk that the industry viewed her as just another product. But let's keep it completely real. There is zero proof linking Clive Davis to any foul play. None. The coroner officially ruled her death an accidental drowning caused by heart disease and cocaine use. Her tragic end wasn't a Hollywood movie script. It was the brutal reality of deep addiction playing out in real time. Clive didn't cause her death, but the industry is definitely guilty of having zero empathy. The real scandal wasn't a hidden plot. It was the pure greed. A room full of billionaires were popping bottles downstairs while the woman who built their empire lay cold upstairs. The show simply had to go on because in this game, they don't love you. They love what you make. What do you think about how the major labels ran this game? Drop a comment below. Hit that subscribe button and let's get into it.
And then in 1993, he and Clive Davis founded Bad Boy Records. Clive Davis, how do you describe Clive Davis? There's an infomercial about him now, which is a document. It's been called a documentary. And it makes him look like this benign octogenarian that's helped all these rock stars with their careers. But people in the music industry really don't like Clive Davis, most of them. And his criminality is kind of people like the payola scandal. It's against the law.
Clive Davis is the chief creative officer of Sony.
And he owns Bad Boy Records,
which is Diddy's essentially like music production company. Diddy answers to him because he pays Diddy. Michael Jackson, the day before he died, he was saying, they, meaning Sony, wants me gone because they want to control my music. They want to control my IP. LaToya Jackson also said following Michael's death that Dr. Conrad Murray, who went to jail for prescribing Michael Jackson the drugs that, quote, caused his overdose, was just completely the fall guy. And she said that Michael told her that Sony wants him gone.
In that 1995 meeting in Beverly Hills in the home of Clive Davis, who was responsible for the murder of Whitney Houston, I said it. His days are numbered. And there were rappers there from all over the country. They were invited to the home of Clive Davis, along with members of the CIA, FBI, which they didn't understand why the government was there, including many directors and CEOs of the private prisons throughout the United States was at that meeting in the mansion of Clive Davis. And they were telling these rappers, you need to create songs talking about killing police. calling black women bees and hoes. You need to get more nasty so we can fill our prisons that we're building. Okay.
You know what's crazy during that time? I can recall when that gangster music came into play.
That's it.
And how they, you know, I don't know if the guys rapping it really knew, but they created the atmosphere.
Yes.
But it went from, I remember guys wanting to wear like the African chains around their neck
Yes.
and dancing and the haircuts, flat tops, Kid and Play,
Flat top, yeah.
Kwame, to the really thugged out and
Yes.
just the gang stuff. And I can recall going into like liquor stores or different places and all they had was blue and red rags.
Right.
It was just like that stuff was on program.
He got his whole situation based off of Clive Davis. Clive Davis.
Clive Davis. Yeah,
he
that's what I was going to say. So yeah, J Records is Clive Davis.
I think he stepped down.
Was Clive Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
Who was really one of the absolute legends in the music industry. I mean, that's like Whitney Houston, you know. I mean, he's got a catalog that's insane.
Yeah.
Did you and Clive Davis ever interact at all or no?
Yeah, that's in order for me to sign my deal, I had to sit down at a table with Clive Davis and they had to look at Clive and say, "What do you think about this?" And he was like, "Oh man." That's when they signed the check. And then I had to go to like a bunch of parties with Clive Davis, like parties that I didn't even understand. It was just like people that I didn't know who they were, just a bunch of like millionaires and billionaires and houses that didn't even look real. And Clive Davis used to tell me, just you stand right here, put his arm on my shoulder and say, "Don't move." Everybody come by, they take pictures. Gotta think I'm 16, 17, so it's still kind of strange to me.
The other part of that is we never talk about what Clive Davis did to Milli Vanilli, because those were young black men, but they looked a certain way and they were too pretty. But we have these big old fat black guys that can really sing. So we're going to have them sing, but we're going to put Milli Vanilli up. And then when it got discovered that the scam was happening, Clive Davis didn't lose a Grammy. Milli Vanilli did. Clive Davis wasn't shunned. Milli Vanilli was. Clive Davis went on and made Bad Boy, made J Records, gave Usher a record deal, built LaFace Records, did everything he wanted to do without any consequence or recompense to what he did to those young boys who were out front through no fault of their own, who were forced into that situation, and the fat black kids who were in the back singing.
Did he struggle with the idea of coming out publicly? Was that something that you talked about at all?
He wasn't going to come out and say this to the world. And he had a lot of lady fans, and he told me that he just didn't want to upset the world.
I would open myself up to the possibility of a relationship based on the person and not on gender.
Patti LaBelle revealed how Clive Davis forced Luther Vandross into the music industry's darkest secrets. The legendary singer exposed how Luther started as a clothes thief who manipulated his way into Patti's inner circle.
He was so interested in Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. We're at the Apollo Theater, and the doorman came up to my room and said, "There's a Luther Vandross who said he wants to be your fan club president."
But Luther's desperate need for acceptance led him straight into Clive Davis's web of control and manipulation.
Can't face the curtain opening and them saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, to host the second annual Soul Train Music Awards, Dionne Warwick and Luther Vandross," and the curtain opens. And I'm 90 pounds heavier than I was the previous year.
From stolen outfits to secret industry partnerships, Luther's story revealed how powerful executives preyed on vulnerable artists who would do anything for fame. So let's get into it. Luther Ronzone Vandross Jr. was born April 20th, 1951, in New York City to Mary Ida Vandross, a nurse, and Luther Vandross Sr., an upholsterer. Growing up in Manhattan's Lower East Side in the Alfred E. Smith public housing development, Luther's childhood was filled with music from the very beginning. By age 3, he had taught himself to play piano by ear, displaying the natural musical talent that would define his entire life. Luther's world changed forever in 1959, when his father suddenly passed away after spending time at the beach. Luther was only 8 years old, and this profound loss would shape both his music and his emotional development. The young boy turned to music as an escape from grief, and throughout his life, he would carry that pain with him, often saying he was filled with sadness whenever he saw father-son relationships depicted on television or in films. Music was embedded in the Vandross family DNA. Luther's oldest sister, Patricia, sang with the Crests, a doo-wop group consisting of 4 neighborhood boys, and Patricia, They were on the brink of success when asked to go on a countrywide promotional tour, but their mother, Mary Ida, refused to allow her daughter to travel with 4 men.
Leola Brown, Bobby Brown's sister, has said on several occasions that she was beaten. They saw her body. She didn't just die in a tub, like she was beat up. Her and Clive had a fight 2 days before. And from what I was told, Bobby Christina was present for some of that fight. And then the next thing you know, she's dead. Ray J was the last person to see her alive. He let the drug dealer in, but she was sober, right? But he let the drug dealer in that gave her the shot. And Brandy was the one that found her. But you know, they pledge allegiance to Clive too. He needed her back, but he needed her back and under his control. Thing with her name on it is strictly for the purposes of financial gain for those who have access to her estate, including Clive Davis.
Including Clive Davis.
Clive Davis. This ain't a film to celebrate Whitney Houston. This is a film to, you know, pay the piper.
The hottest ticket around.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You're gonna hear about my party. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we want to have a good time. You know, whenever you bring up a different element into people's environment, things that broaden people's horizon, people get intimidated. There's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. It ain't nothing but break it down, racial.